Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and today Apple released iOS 27 Beta 3. iOS 27 Beta 3 is available to developers, and iOS 27 Public Beta should be out within a couple weeks or so. Now this particular update, if you're wanting to install it and you're a registered developer, you can find it by going into your settings, going to General, and then Software Update. Make sure you have the developer beta selected, again if you're a developer, and if you don't see it, refresh like this, or go back out, back in, refresh, and you should see it here. Now this update was pretty large. It came in at 15.04 gigabytes on the iPhone 17 Pro Max, and along with this, Apple also released many other updates. iPadOS 27 Beta 3, macOS 27 Golden Gate Beta 3, tvOS and HomePodOS 27 Beta 3, visionOS 27 Beta 3, and watchOS 27 Beta 3 that I'm installing right now. They also released beta updates for iOS 26.6 with Beta 4 as well. Now let's take a look at the build number and talk about what's new. So we'll go back into our settings under Software Update, go to More Details, and then tap on the version number. And as you can see, the build number is 24A5380H. And this particular update has quite a few changes and features. And the first thing is it does have a modem update. So if maybe you were having some connectivity issues before, hopefully they will be resolved in this update. Now the first change though has to do with music. If we go into music and then into a song that's playing, with Beta 2 on the left, Beta 3 on the right, you'll see that the little star icon or favorite icon and three-dot menu no longer have a little circle highlighting those specific icons. With reminders on Beta 2 on the left here, you'll see that it's different than Beta 3 on the right. So again, we have slightly different icons where the circles are filled in, they don't have a highlight around them, and they look a little bit different. If we go into the control center at the top, you'll see they've changed it. It now says Wi-Fi and then 5G. Some people are seeing this say 5G Plus as well, and it's really carrier dependent. If we go into Siri, you'll see some slight visual changes here where it now says Siri with beta outlined instead of having it in the title itself. And also with the expressive voice preview on supported devices, if we go into our voice, we can now modify this. So we have the option to modify pace and expressivity. So let's go ahead and try it out here. So let me turn the microphone so you can hear it.
Let's find the right voice. Let's find the right voice for you. Hi, let's find the right voice for you. Let's find the right voice for you. Hi, let's find the right voice for you. Hi, let's find the right voice for you.
Let's find the right voice. Let's find the right voice for. Hi, let's find the right voice for. Let's find the right voice for you. Let's find the right voice for you.
So you can change that to your liking. Of course, currently it's only available in American, it says, and we should have some additional options by the time this launches to the public. Also, another change has to do with when you're using Siri directly. So if we go ahead and activate it, you'll see that we have some more reflections here. And so this is the new Siri, and as my voice is talking to it, you'll see greater reflections down at the bottom of the icon compared to the one on the left with Beta 2. So they continue to update this, and I think it looks great as it's sort of shadowing or reflecting down onto the icon underneath it or the widget below it. If we go back into settings, you'll see at the top it says optimizing search and Siri. This is the same as indexing with a different title. Some people saw this in Beta 2, but I didn't. And you'll see here that it says optimizing search and Siri. You can use your iPhone as you normally would. Indexing improves search, starting with your most recent data, and can take a while. Longer charging sessions help indexing go faster. However, the link to this seems to be broken, and it says the page you're looking for cannot be found or can't be found. So this will take some time. I would love to see some sort of status or indicator as to how long this will take. Before it took me a week, some people it took longer than that, so it just depends on the amount of data you have as well. But we can continue to use it at least. When it comes to the wallpaper, there's something unique here, so let's go ahead and switch wallpapers. Now if we switch to a wallpaper like this one with a subject in it, and then maybe we open up an app such as music, if we start to pull down, you'll see that the mountain from the previous wallpaper starts to appear in the background, highlights completely, and then switches to the wallpaper. So the subject shows up, and this happens in any app, just not on the home screen. So this is something that's a bit unique. I sort of like it, but we don't know if it's a mistake yet, or if it's just the way it's supposed to be, but it's a nice effect there either way. Within shortcuts, they've made a slight change here. So at the bottom, we now have a plus button instead of new shortcut with the plus button to the left. Also, if we go into our shortcut settings, so if we switch over here, we'll go to app settings, give it a second with my shortcut that I have there linked in the description. We have a new option to open shortcuts to describe a shortcut or editor. So if we want it to go directly into editor or describe a shortcut, we can now change that. Where some people don't want to describe it, when you go in, you can then describe it using Siri. If you don't want that, again, just change it back to the editor. And if we go back into our shortcuts, then go to add one again, it should open directly into the editor. So I think this is a great change for those that want the traditional editor that we've had for years. When you go to set up an iPhone for the first time, it appears that Apple has updated this according to Aaron P613, going from the iOS 26 wallpaper to the iOS 27 wallpaper. So as we move on through betas, Apple will continue to update these with different icons throughout the setup process that bring it into the iOS 27 design language. Also, if we go into Photos, so let's go in here. Within Photos, if we go into an image that has food, for example, and then tap the little I at the bottom, you'll see it says look up nutrition. However, the little icon is changed from just the search icon to a little fork and knife. There's two things they've updated with the icons here. For example, the specular highlights seem to be less intense here around the outline of the icon itself. And then also, when you're using clear icons, they don't quite have a bold outline anymore. So you'll see them side by side, beta 2 on the left, beta 3 on the right. They look a little softer and a little less intense or sharp. So that's something that's been updated with beta 3. And again, one more thing with icons, you'll see the feedback app icon is no longer a gradient. So we have a consistent color throughout compared to beta 2 or before. Also in iOS 27 beta 3, the first time you open Find My, you'll be greeted with a new splash screen, and it says flexible location sharing, redesigned Apple Watch app, and location improvements, going over some of the new features that are in Find My in iOS 27. Also, I had another splash screen when I opened up the TV app. So within TV for the first time, again, it brought up a splash screen talking about Formula One being on Apple TV again, and of course, MLS being included with Apple TV. Even though I've been in here, we've had those features for a while, we do get this new splash screen. Now, when it comes to bugs and bug fixes, well, there's been a couple things that seem to be fixed so far. If we go into settings here, we'll go back to our main page. Typically every day, I would be greeted with a new option that says Set up Siri. That now goes to the correct menu. So if we go into Siri, for example, and then maybe we wanted to go through the setup information, I took a screenshot of it as to what it looks like. And you'll see here, it will say this, and then you go through your steps 1 through 5, and then set everything up. So this is something I got every day, but it wouldn't bring you to the proper screen to complete the setup. So it looks like they've resolved that. Also, if we go into maybe another app such as Notes, and within Notes and other applications, many people were saying that they were still having an issue with the keyboard showing up properly. It seems to be working now, and it also works properly when you're in Landscape again. So you'll see here within Landscape, it's working properly, it's showing up centered and everything else, and that works throughout the OS now. Also, Wi-Fi disconnects were definitely an issue with beta 1 and beta 2. So far, throughout testing this for the past couple of hours, it seems to be pretty stable, but many people were having that issue with it just sort of disconnecting and reconnecting on its own. So hopefully that's resolved, and we'll talk about it in the weekend follow-up video. Of course, we have to mention the wallpaper bug as well. Now, if we pull down from the top, you'll see how saturated the wallpaper is. Swipe home, and it definitely desaturates. This is something that we haven't seen this severe in quite some time, or at least I haven't. It seemed to be fixed for me mostly with beta 1 and beta 2, so this is definitely something I need to submit feedback for. Also, when it comes to Apple's public-facing release notes, if we take a look here, I went through these, and it looks like there's 17 categories of resolved issues, and that's up from 15 with beta 2. However, there's still quite a few known issues as well, 59 categories of known issues up from 56, so there's still some issues, of course, that they need to resolve, and they're working on this and aware of it. But if you look through this and you don't see the issue that you're having, make sure that you submit it in the feedback app that I showed before where they changed the icon. So make sure that you do that, and then, of course, Apple can work on it based on level of importance or what's happening. When it comes to releases, I would expect iOS 26.6 RC as soon as next Monday. However, we probably won't see iOS 27 Beta 4 until around the 20th. Now, it's possible we could see it earlier than that. So if we do see it next week around Monday, we could see the public beta that week as well. Usually Apple will release iOS 27 re-release that week, and then push out the public beta just to make everything match. However, we could see it the following week, which seems more likely as that's what we had last year and previous years. So maybe iOS 27 Beta 4 on the 20th, a re-release later in the week with a public beta that week as well. I would also expect possibly iOS 26.6 to release to the public that week also. As far as anything else, we'll have additional iOS 27 betas throughout August and then into September, where we'll have a public release usually in mid-September around the iPhone 18 launch. Now, if you're wondering if you should install iOS 27 Beta 3, absolutely if you're on Beta 1 or Beta 2. However, if you're on iOS 26.5.2 or iOS 26.6, those betas, I probably would hold off until at least the public beta. But if you have a separate device lying around and you have a backup where you can restore using a computer, then I would try it out and see what you think, but I probably wouldn't use it on your main device just yet. But we'll talk more about that in the weekend follow-up video. With performance, everything seems to be extra smooth this time. I did notice a little bit of stutter, but again, it's optimizing in the background or indexing, but it seems to be more smooth than I remembered with beta 2. Things like ProMotion seem to be ramping up and down like you would expect, not just holding around 80 frames per second or so, maybe even a little bit better. Going in and out of apps seems fast. We don't know how RAM management is, but I didn't go into podcasts for a little while. Again, everything seems very, very smooth so far. We'll have to see how that does over the next few days though. As far as thermals and heating, it does seem to be quite warm, especially right after installing it. But again, it's optimizing, it's working in the background. I definitely expect this. And of course, we'll check it in the weekend follow-up. But it seems to be something that's definitely there. So don't be alarmed. It's going to get warm as it's indexing. Once that's done, it should cool down. As far as battery life, well, my battery life has not been great with beta 2, but let's take a look. We'll go to battery health. You'll see I'm at 100% capacity with 127 cycles. As for my overall usage, if we take a look at yesterday, I had 1 hour and 36 minutes of screen active time, 1 hour and 27 minutes of screen idle time using 40% of the battery. So far today, 3 hours and 17 minutes of screen active time using 54%. So hopefully this gets much, much better. It's barely getting me through about half a day or so and requires multiple charges throughout the day if I'm using it heavily. So just keep that in mind. It is an early beta. This is not something that I wouldn't expect with this update, but it is something that can be a pain if you rely on your phone and don't have a charger available throughout the day. Now, as far as storage size, let's go ahead and take a look. We'll go to General and then iPhone Storage. Wait for it to load, scroll to the bottom, and you'll see we have iOS taking up 35.15 gigabytes. Let's compare it with beta 2 here. So if we go into iOS, it's definitely taking up more storage with Apple Intelligence at 19.02 gigabytes compared to 16.1 gigabyte. Of course, iOS is taking up more as well at 16.13 gigabytes compared to 15.9. So it's using a little more storage. It's not unexpected, but hopefully it will be optimized by the time it's released to the public. And then system data goes up and down as needed. I've seen it go up to about 60 gigabytes and then come back down. As far as benchmarks, let's go ahead and run those, but keep in mind we are running in the background with optimizing settings and things. So let's see what we get though. Initial benchmarks completed, and I ran it on iOS 26.6 beta 4 just to compare, but we have 3,755 for single core, 9,548 for multi-core. So definitely a little bit higher so far on iOS 26.6 beta 4, but iOS 27 beta 3 is probably doing a lot more in the background as well. So this will probably increase over the next few days, and we'll check it in the weekend follow-up video. So that's everything so far with iOS 27 beta 3. Of course, if I find more features, I'll let you know in a separate video. And of course, be sure to check back for the weekend follow-up where we'll talk about other features, bugs, battery life, and much more. Of course, if you'd like to get your hands on this wallpaper, I'll link it in the description like I normally do. And if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.